This is Evan with Political Breakdown, and first of all, I gotta go back to civil liberties because we did not get to finish that. So the main gist of the civil liberties part of his policies is he wants to sort of undo some of the things that we've seen in the past 20 years, such as the over ability for the government to spy on the citizens, and also more recently, COVID lockdowns. There's, some give and take there as far as how much I enjoy what he is saying there. But essentially, he doesn't want to allow a bunch of businesses to be closed, especially black-owned businesses, and we'll see a little bit of how he talks about um, people of color later on. But yeah, and then another part of this is instead of, um, he says instead of defunding the police, we'll transform them. This is, again, sort of playing on the same sort of talking points from the right, but also still saying that, hey, we are going to, in fact, try to make things better as far as we are not going to, imprison people for violent drug offenses and so on. And he'll sort of get a little bit more into that with the racial healing tab right here. So first of all, we've got a little bit of targeted community repair. So he wants to make sure to sort of rebuild the infrastructure in predominantly black neighborhoods. Along with that, he wants to fix a lot of what has happened with the prisons. He wants to more so make them for helping to rehabilitate rather than punish, as you see right in this section. And that's, of course, a good thing. I think most people are more so for a rehabilitation type of prison system than a purely punishment prison system, as it will typically reduce recidivism. So that's always a good thing. And then we also get to police reform. So it's, again, a lot of talking about how he wants to reorient how the police serve in especially black communities. A lot of the racial healing is, of course, focused on black people of color in this case. And so then we also get to the working class, working poor. Again, a little bit of a focus and, sort of stating, hey, the $15 minimum wage, the tax credits, the child care subsidies, the home buying programs that we've already talked about a little bit, they will help raise those people out of poverty, as they are more predominantly in poverty population-wise compared to other parts of our population. And so he goes through a few other things. An interesting one is the free IDs for all American citizens. He's in particular talking about what is it called, the passport cards, and that's sort of an interesting idea, as it would allow all American citizens to be able to travel between US, Canada, Mexico, and then some of the close by like Bahamas and whatnot. So that would be an interesting idea. One of my favorite takeaways from the racial healing part of this plan. So now we'll go to Native Americans. Now, admittedly, I should know more about Native Americans. I've learned some just through some of the classes that I've, been fortunate enough to take. And it looks like he's talking mainly about his father and, his commitment towards improving the lives of Native Americans in the first couple paragraphs. Then he's also going to focused on representing Native American, or he has focused on representing Native Americans, um, presumably in his law practice. Um, yeah, I mean, overall, nothing too outstanding on this, but at the very least, he would like to recognize their rights to their land, and hey, that's absolutely phenomenal. I am all for that. Um, Nothing too revolutionary there, though. You know, it's pretty standard stuff that you see just generally on the left in today's politics. Revitalization. Let's see here. I do like the graphics that he has. He does a good job with visuals. Wealth gap, yep. So, yep, this is of course going to be a little bit more on helping sort of poorer or impoverished neighborhoods and peoples just simply get better opportunities and not necessarily just bailing out a bank because it's too big to fail or any sort of monopolies or anything like that. Um, Generally, a fairly good system to go for. Um, you know, they aren't going to necessarily bail you out if you're going to fail, so why should they bail out them? So far, so good. Um, and then again, a lot more of going back to um, the issues that have come from the past 20 years with us being the world police, going over, um, you know, the things that we need to do to make sure that what we've done in the past 23 years is not going to negatively impact the future by helping support those who have fought for what our country was going for at the time, um, but not downplaying those veterans at all. You know, they they were doing this in service of what our country was trying to do at the time. So that is very good. And now we'll go to AmeriCorps. So it looks like I actually will be doing pretty good on time for this video. Alright, so this is going over, I'll be honest, I have never actually heard the term AmeriCorps before. That's sort of a failing of not just education system, but also the news, in the fact that somehow, even though I've tried to keep up with news as best as I can, I think I've heard of it, but I've never really gotten as much of a good in-depth as he has on his page. So if you guys have not heard of AmeriCorps, go to his page. And in fact, I'll even have this one linked down below in the description. Then you can also find all the policies under the policy tab while you're on the site. That way you can read these a little bit more in depth, and sort of figure out what you think on his. So, um, alright, so I overall like the general what he's going for. He wants to better support them. He wants to better care for those who um, sort of work with AmeriCorps. I'll have to go into it a little bit more in depth later, because I think that would be a um, good video to sort of give you guys a little bit more information on AmeriCorps and also to teach myself a little bit more about AmeriCorps. All right. And now for strong labor rights. So this will overall go in sort of the direction of, hey, we are for unions. We do not want to have union busting be allowed. We want the right to organize, the right to collective bargaining, the right to strike, meaningful wages and benefits, which includes a significant increase in the minimum wage, right to a healthy and safe workplace with appropriate working conditions, the right to compensation if injured on the job, the right to a dignified and secured retirement. Overall, these are just simply a bunch of, I feel like it should be fairly standard things to support. Rights of the workers over just simply the rights of the big business that, let's be honest, most of us typically work for a big business. So, going for a $15 an hour minimum wage, which it's becoming more and more difficult, except for if you're in a very rural area, to even find that. I personally do not live in a town of more than 60,000 people, and it's pretty difficult finding anything that's below $15 an hour nowadays, even in that small of a town. So I feel like the $15 an hour minimum wage is sort of just an obvious option, Get even those smallest of small towns up to that same standard of living. So, yeah. Again, just as I said in the last video towards the very end, make sure to tell me who you would like to see a little bit more of a breakdown on next week. We can look at Claudia de la Cruz, we can look at Jill Stein, we can look at Cornel West. I have been really interested in Cornel West recently, so if no one answers in the comments, I will definitely go for Cornel West. But yeah, other than that, you guys have a wonderful day. This is Evan at Political Breakdown, signing off.